Never Tell Me the Odds, Part 1. On the left is the facial reconstruction of a 9,000-year-old skeleton that was found in a cave in Cheshire, England. His DNA was tested and researchers found that a living relative was teaching history class only a half-mile away from the site, linking back 300 generations. A Chinese couple recently discovered that they were in the same photograph as teenagers, more than a decade before they'd ever met. In 2015, a man found a Mountain Dew bottle from 1992 that would have won him a brand new Super Nintendo. Jim Springer and Jim Lewis are identical twins who were separated at birth but ended up living nearly identical lives. Both married a woman named Linda, got divorced, and remarried a woman named Betty. They also both drove a Chevy, smoked Salem cigarettes, and had a dog named Toy. All of this was discovered when they were reunited at the age of 39. Never Tell Me the Odds, Part 2. For the first half of his life, Hungarian man Adam Rayner was barely 4 feet tall as a result of dwarfism. But during his 20s, a pituitary tumor caused a dramatic growth spurt, and by age 33, he was 7'2". He's the only person in recorded history to have been both a dwarf and a giant. A Swedish woman lost her wedding ring in her garden until she found it growing on a carrot 16 years later. On average, you're said to have about 6 doppelgangers throughout the world who look exactly like you. These identical strangers each found one of theirs when they happened to sit next to each other on the same flight. When Don Carcos fought in World War II, he was hit with shrapnel and blinded in his right eye. While working in a barn 64 years later, a horse headbutted him in the exact same spot. The man was thrown into the wall with force, but his vision was permanently restored. Never Tell Me the Odds, Part 3. An Australian man named Bill Morgan was once declared dead for 14 minutes but managed to survive. To celebrate his survival, he bought some scratch-offs and won a new car. When the news told him to reenact the moment he won, he bought another scratch-off for the cameras and won a $250,000 jackpot. This 3,000-year-old sculpture of an ancient Egyptian princess looks exactly like Michael Jackson. After a family lost their dog during Hurricane Sandy, they decided to give up and look for a new one 2 years later. So they went to the local shelter, and the first animal the counselor showed them was their missing dog. In 1981, a South African astronomer gave a lecture on how death could happen at any time. At the end of the lecture, he popped a peppermint candy into his mouth and promptly choked to death.